Just gone 8:15. Let's continue with our program that we've got planned for you this morning. 68% of South Africans believe there is more corruption in the country compared to previous years. And since the beginning of the lockdown, market research company Ask Afrika has been conducting independent studies measuring public perception, behavioural change, and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on citizens. With recent revelations of tender irregularities, some members of the public said they are losing faith in President Cyril Ramaphosa and government's handling of the current situation. 24% hadn't heard or seen media reports related to these tenders. But to tell us more, we're joined by Andrea Rademeyer. She's the CEO and founder of Ask Afrika. Andrea, great to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Hi there.
Right, so you've been doing continuous studies and surveys since the lockdown began. How have you been compiling your data and conducting these surveys?
So the important thing for us was to actually give a voice to the citizens, because what we observed globally in China and Europe was that there was a lot of political talk about lockdown and COVID voice. So the purpose of our research was to provide that, and we started our interviews literally from the 1st of April, and we've been doing at least a minimum of 400 interviews per week. So we've done nearly 9,000 interviews now, and they are spread across the country, all socioeconomic levels, etc.
Yeah. How do you find who you want to, speak to and the focus areas? Because I imagine it's not or perhaps you can tell us how it works. Are you actually face-to-face with the individual, or it's particularly online?
Well, we couldn't do face-to-face because everybody was in lockdown.
Yeah, of course.
So it was online interviewing. And what we did is we made sure that we had enough to represent every single province every week. And to reflect the status A description of what constitutes a South African. So, for example, we have 50% employed, we have 17% on social grants, etc. So we literally spread it across the province. All of it.
Okay, good. That's pretty much so what we wanted to hear, that it was spread across different different groupings. So you say the perception from the findings of government's performance is mitigating and managing the pandemic has fallen steeply and consistently. What are people unhappy about specifically?
Well, we've looked at a lot of detail, and I must say it looks like the worst ratings have been given for government support of businesses. Now, that surprises me because I would have thought it would have been around government support of poverty or education or anything else, which it was as well. But the support of business has been getting the lowest ratings. It makes sense if you consider that the highest fear of citizens is actually of unemployment. So citizens fear unemployment more than they fear actually contracting COVID-19. Yeah. Asked citizens the difference between national government. Do they feel the government is communicating and managing the pandemic well? And that rating is dropped. But we also asked them about provincial government, and are very low. So we only have between 10 and 13%, depending on which province it is, that give the provincial government management of the pandemic.
And if you had to break it down per province, which province felt more confident in the management by their provincial government?
Mpumalanga and KZN give the best ratings, whereas Gauteng, followed by the Western Cape, gives the worst ratings.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting.
That's on national. Sorry, that's on national level. Yeah. I got it wrong now. That's on national level, rating national government. The split on provincial I don't have with me right now.
Okay. It would. Yeah, I was wondering because it would. Yeah, that was questionable. Yeah. But I'm glad you corrected it. So that's the national perception. Yeah. So Mpumalanga felt that national have been doing the best. When you talk of the best, I mean, yes. let's highlight positives. Let's talk to what is it that people are actually satisfied that government is doing right at this time.
You're giving me a bit of a difficult thing there. So 14% said government is doing very well with poverty management. And I suppose general communication and education around COVID has been getting the highest responses. Okay, now I've got something for you. 59% of all citizens actually think that the way government has strategized around COVID has been very good. So that is a very good rating. So it appears, or what it means is that on a macro level, the government strategy has support. It's in the execution and the micro levels that it's falling apart.
You know, the biggest complaint that we've gotten, and obviously we're not doing surveys, but we broadcast to the masses and we get a lot of emails, a lot of tweets, a lot of private messages, and most of the complaints or worries that come from the population is that of the 350 Rand grant, is that of the TERS, of generally on the social grant side of things. You haven't as yet mentioned that. Did that not come up at all in your research?
It did, but I was trying to give you the positives. So only 11% of those that applied for UIF actually got it. And that number is the same for those with regards to food parcels. So of the 18% of our citizens who are in desperate need and on the hunger line, only 11% got food parcels. And some got 6 or 7, others only got 1 in that 11%. So it points to a very irregular rollout of food parcels and government support.
That I can imagine. I mean, that is a big problem that so many South Africans are struggling with at this time. What I found also quite interesting from your survey is that people who had not actually seen or heard any media reports on tender corruption, what do these people rely on for information around the pandemic? Let's perhaps go there.
Okay, maybe one needs to point out that 64% have heard, read, or seen corruption being mentioned or practiced. And that's a very high percentage, 64% of the citizens, and this constant since May. It's thus highly unlikely that government or business has not been aware of this. But that small percentage who's unaware of it, which you refer to, you must remember that we have about a quarter of our citizens who have simply checked out, in a sense, who believe the whole issue around COVID is exaggerated, who will not follow the call to sanitize, and who are angry and in denial about COVID. So it stands to reason that they will not buy into media either.
Just finally, as we begin to wrap, what is it that government should take from a report like this? I'm sure this report is not in isolation, and the things that you're telling us they're unfortunately not necessarily coming as a shock because it's things that we are hearing on a regular basis. But what is it that government should do now? Because we're not out of the woods as yet, and there is a lot that can still be done and rectified.
There is so much we could do. And there are really two things which I'm very passionate about. The one is the government did exceptionally well to get the loan from IMF. Spend it on the people who need it. Show us evidence, make it transparent, show the citizens who's been receiving the money and the funds. Then I think that would be very gratifying for everybody. And then our citizens need a new education solution. And in times of online, it's easier than before. If a curriculum has been developed, if teachers have notes on how to do it, and we have an excellent private schooling system as well in the country, share it, make it available for everybody.
Andrea, thank you for talking to us here on the program. Interesting discussion there in terms of some views from South Africans as to government's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, and 68% of South Africans believing there is more corruption in the country compared to previous years was one of the major findings. Andrea Rademeyer is the CEO and founder of Ask Africa. All right. Thanks so much again for your time.